And I'm live. Hello, everyone. It's going to be me solo this week to try a fun new little idea and project. See how it goes. It's going to be a positive breakdown of CrossFit.com, 3 weeks of it, and then show you some ideas on how to progress it and make it better. So we're going to start the live. No one is watching. 35 seconds in. See if anyone hops on. Nobody's here. We got one watcher. Is that Cody? Cody, you out here watching? Or are you still lifting weights? Comment in the chat if you want me to send a link to, Cody, riding solo. Wasn't Paige supposed to be out there with you? Working out? All right. I wonder if any of these guys are free. We'll put the link in. I was going to do this by myself, but I don't know. It would be cool to bring somebody else in. Or I could just talk by myself. Cody, what do you think? Should I just go for it all on my own? Before we start, I do want to do some athlete highlights. This is a new piece here that we're going to do. Wendy Ruchty, she recently published in a textbook, Workplace Leadership. She's in chapter 11, title, Building Workplace Efficacy. Pretty solid there. Then we got Christelle Fox, recently joined the Brown women's tennis coaching staff. She played tennis at the collegiate level herself, and she's now giving back to the sport that she loves. So that's really cool. Some little highlights from athletes that are outside of CrossFit. Accolades there. Got two watchers. Comment in the chat if you're the second watcher. Now 3 watchers. I was going to send out a link to some people if they want to talk about this, but I think I might just roll with this one by myself. Let's just get into it. Let's start. Share the screen here. All right, here we go. So CrossFit.com. We're going to look at September 9th, 2024. And we'll go into August 26th, 2024. So this is week 1 here at the bottom, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the subsequent weeks. So the first week down here at the bottom, and then subsequent weeks. And let's just go over the workouts for CrossFit.com for these 3 weeks. Random 3 weeks I just pulled the closest weeks to us that were not IBEX training by Christy Irmo and Patrick Irmo, or O'Connell now. So Christy O'Connell and Patrick O'Connell. Just because I just wanted the HQ.com, whoever's writing that now, reflect their programming and not review. Maybe we will review the guest programmers programming sometime, but not on the first one. All right. So if we go to August, we're going to look at Monday, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10 reps of double under crossovers and toes to bar. Tuesday, back squat 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. The goal is 85% and above on every set. Rest 3 to 4 minutes between sets. Wednesday, 7 rounds for time of 7 single dumbbell devil's presses, 100 meter single dumbbell carry. Thursday is a rest. Friday, weighted strict muscle up, 1, 1, 1. Then for time, 30 ring muscle ups. Every time you break, perform 10 box jumps. Saturday, complete as many rounds and reps as possible in 20 minutes of 3 wall walks, 6 thrusters, 18 burpees over the barbell, and the loading is at 125, 185, and then rest. Then we go to week 2. So the following week, that was the first start of the 3 weeks that we pulled out. And then Monday, you're going to row 30-second plank. You're going to row 400, 1 minute plank, 600, 1.5, 800 meter, 2 minute plank, 1,000 meter row, 2.5 minute plank or 2.5 minute plank. Tuesday, 25 hang power cleans, 50 front squats, 25 hang power cleans at 165 and 115. Then complete as many reps as possible on Wednesday of 5 minutes of shuttle runs. Then complete as many reps as possible of 5 minutes of burpee bar muscle up. Complete as many reps as possible in 15 minutes of shuttle runs. Rest on Thursday. Friday is going to be Diane. Classic girl workout, 21, 15, 9. Deadlifts, handstand push-ups at 225, 155. Saturday is going to be 5 rounds for a time of 400 meter run and 1,600 meter echo bike or a mile of echo bike. Sunday's rest. Next week, Monday is going to be every 3 minutes for 7 sets, 5 squat snatch, 15 bar facing burpee, 125, 185. Tuesday is going to be 1 round of 30 push jerks, 15 ring dips, 3 rope climbs, then 2 rounds of 20 push jerks, 20 ring dips, 2 rope climbs, then 3 rounds of 10 push jerks, 5 ring dips, 1 rope climb. Wednesday was 9/11, so hero WOD. Thursday was rest. Friday was another girl workout, Jackie, 1,000 meter row, 50 barbell only thrusters, 45 for the men, 35 for the ladies, 30 pull-ups. And then Saturday is going to be 3 rounds for time of 20 sumo deadlift high pulls, 40 GHD sit-ups, 120 double unders. So that would be 3 weeks of what CrossFit would consider training. And I'm just breaking this down in a spreadsheet like this just to look at it, make a point of, because I said this on a live we had about how CrossFit.com is not training. Now, me saying that, can it be exercise? Sure. Does it hit lots of different movement patterns, GMW appropriately and effectively? Does this program design stay very true to CrossFit methodology as the way that you see it in level 1? Definitely. But my question is, like, do people out there paying attention to this really, one, who follows it? What is the person that could follow it? And why is it not actually going to build your fitness in the broad times mold domains? So we'll just break it down in this. In the first week, I did a little section over here of movement. So we broke it down the same way you would do in CrossFit of monostructural weightlifting and gymnastics. And in week 1, you have double unders and burpees and monostructural. Gymnastics are going to be ring muscle. Burpees could be argued in gymnastics as well, but I'm going to put it in monostructural. So then gymnastics is going to be ring muscle up, box jump, wall walks. Box jump could also be put in monostructural. Could be argued either way. A couple of those weird movements, but I like burpees in monostructural and box jumps in gymnastics. Weightlifting for that week had thrusters, back squat, dumbbell carry, and dumbbell devil's press. And let's just look at this week of what it's asking from you. So the movements and then demands, I got a couple notes down here. Like, already you go to Friday and it's asking, 1, for you to be able to do strict ring muscle up, and then 30 ring muscle ups at a total volume. And then every time you break. So that athlete, like if you look at a GPP setting or an affiliate setting, and I know that .com wasn't originally written for affiliates, but let's just say affiliates were following. And I know in the early years, affiliates were following .com. And I know that, okay, people are going to argue, well, you got to warm up and then you got a specific warm up, and that's where you can do some skill and drill practice. Okay, that's fair. So let's say we practice the ring muscle up in this week and we build it and you do some work on it, and not everybody can do it. And you scale this to Greg's old 5. No, actually, I think he had 50 pull-ups and 50 ring dips was the scale for 30 ring muscle ups back in the day. It could obviously change, but I think the old school, that's what it was. So you run all these drills in the ring muscle ups, and you work a ton, and people get that exposure in the class of that ring muscle up. And say there's people in the class that can do ring muscle ups, and so you scale down the repetitions and they get the ring muscle up benefit, but you're not actually doing this workout the way it was intended, and you get that one exposure to the ring muscle ups. And then we move on to week 2, just so you can understand a little bit of progression. Yes, there's bar muscle up, but it's burpee bar muscle up, and there's no other point where you would work on ring muscle ups. And sure, I understand that these are just the workouts of the day, but we're just going to take in the context, like CrossFit has always said, is you just do the one workout. And could you do extra credit work? Yes, you could do all that stuff. And that's the point of where we're going with this, is you could fill in the gaps for sure. And .com in general, CrossFit programming don't necessarily fill in the gaps. So just using that one day, you have no ring muscle ups in the following week. And then, yeah, you do have ring dips, which is great because that could help you with your ring muscle up. And you've got some pull-ups over here, 30 reps. But in a 2 weeks time, you had the exposure of these 30 ring muscle ups and the strict ring muscle ups with weight. But then 2 weeks later, you got nothing, no show on the ring muscle ups. Kudos to them for the exposure to the ring dips and the variance there. But anybody who's worked in an affiliate for a long time or watched people train knows that there's no possible way that, let's say you week 4 up here have ring muscle ups again, that anyone's going to be better at ring muscle ups because you completely ignored them for 2 weeks or whoever knows how long. IBEX training took over the next 2 weeks following this 3rd week here of training. I don't know if they have ring muscle ups in there or not, but they still don't have progression. And who knows if they looked at these subsequent weeks to know that we tried to do weighted strict muscle ups 1-1-1 and then strict and then ring muscle ups 30 reps. That's quite a bit there, right? And to develop a person in a class, it's something really tough that there's just nowhere to go when you're following .com. And that may be true for a lot of people who go to affiliates. And if you're looking at affiliate program design, like this is the same way you could kind of look at that and evaluate it beyond, GMW or MGW, the way they tell you in CrossFit. So that was the first thing. The 30 ring muscle ups stood out to me in that week 1, and then weeks 2 and 3, there was really nothing there. And then you look at like the workouts themselves, double under crossovers. So another skill that people would have to develop and build. And you could spend time working on it, but do you need to practice that under intensity? Could you do not double under crossovers? Like you could practice it if that was the intention for that day. Sure, you could, but the workout itself was 30, 25, 20, 15, 10. So that's making the assumption that you can do, let's do the quick math, 50, 35, 45, 50. So 100 crossover double unders as your workout of the day. So just in that week, there's some blaring things that would have to be developed. And then you go through the next couple of weeks again, the same way we did talking about the ring muscle up, and you get 120 double unders per round here, which is great. It's a good volume. You're jumping again. It's 2 weeks later, but it's definitely nowhere near the skill of crossover double unders at that volume of repetitions. Or is the volume brought or increased? Great. Yeah. So assuming you could do those 100 double under crossovers, then in week 3, when you go to do the 360 double unders in this workout on Saturday, you should be proficient enough to be able to do that 360. So there's some good like through lines there, but again, the double under crossover, where's the skill practice? And the common argument is you would do it in the warm up and everything else. I get that, but just handing this over to a person or a group of people in an affiliate seems a little excessive of an ask when you could just change the programming to something more progressive and still varied. And then the other thing here was thrusters on Saturday, 6 thrusters, 20-minute AMRAP. So you're going to go 3 wall walks. It's going to take you 30 seconds to 40 seconds, depending on the person, at a pretty conservative rate of travel. And then you got to do 185-pound thrusters for 6 reps. A lot of people, their 1 rep max thruster is 185. Like they can't even, some general population people inside of an affiliate, which makes up the vast majority of people who might follow.com and do this in their garage for health and fitness. 185 is very heavy. And I know, okay, you could scale it down. Great. But my next question is like, where was the strength training baseline that is going to build you to do a thruster at 185? Because it takes a lot of specificity to build up that strength, in your front squat, in your push press, and then in the thruster itself, running a linear progression. There's no time or linear progression. And let's say you take a general person in class, it could take them a year to 2 years of linear progression to develop that thruster to be 185 at the ability to do, let's just say you're going to do 4 or 5 rounds, 20 to 30, 24 to 30 thrusters at 185 and 125 for ladies. Like there's some people can't even clean and jerk, ladies that can't even clean and jerk 125. And that's the ask, so there's just a big miss here in the loading parameters and some of these asks for each week. Now I would argue that .com, I like this week if I'm looking for conditioning and do it for people who are an avatar of a very experienced, higher level athlete. Sure, throw them in. It's cool. It's good conditioning. They're going to get some adaptations from it. They're not really going to build anything specific out of it, but they got a heavy barbell on Tuesday, a heavy barbell on Saturday. So they've lifted heavy twice that week. They've got hip flexion, jumping on Monday. They got some more hip flexion and extension from the single dumbbell devil's press at a low load, high volume contraction, and then the carries. So footfalls. So 2 like moving patterns, like running, jumping. And then you got the ring muscle ups. You got more jumping with box jumps. So quite a bit of jumping in the week, but still 2 heavy strength days and basically aerobic endurance based on jumping, and then a lot of pulling on the Friday. If you can do the weighted strict muscle up, and then you can also do the 30 ring muscle ups as well, just in a total volume. So that's a pretty hefty ask. And I would argue that like you look at some of these, you look at this whole week, and if you were to say, hey, we're going to hold a CrossFit online qualifier, this could be an online qualifier. This could be your 5 workouts. You could have the back squat 1RM. You could have them do the 30, 25, 20, 15, 10 reps of crossover double unders and toes to bar for time and throw a time cap on there. You could have 7 rounds of the 7 dumbbell press. You could take out the weighted strict ring muscle up and just do the 30 ring muscle ups. And every time you break, you got to do 10 box jumps. And then you could have the 20-minute AMRAP, and you would have a complete test for qualifier. So if you're watching this and you guys run events, you could just take that and run your online qualifier with those events, and you would get some really good athletes. You get people who could thruster 185 for repetitions. They can do ring muscle ups. They can carry some loads for a moderate duration that's more glycolytic from Wednesday on the 7 rounds. They know how to do a high skill jumping double under rope. So you could do at your event, you could do more stuff with that. And then they have a heavy back squat. So a pretty balanced test week there if you were testing, but not really training. So like from that lens, it's really tough. And then there is no carryover in the next 2 weeks of really any of these movements, because you do toes to bar here and then no toes to bar for 2 weeks. And that happens at affiliates often. You'll toe to bar and then 2 weeks will go by and you won't toe to bar again. And a lot of people need the constant exposure and controlled progression to get that. So like, let's say we take an athlete who cannot do this workout because they can't do 100 toes to bar, and you haven't worked on, let's say, their max set and they can do 10 unbroken, and then they fall apart. You need to like slow it down and break it down and build those people's toes to bar under no intensity so that they can do that workout under intensity. And that would be a training program that builds them into this specific workout for Monday of the 100 crossover double unders and toes to bar. There's a lot there. just to like even really break down. So then we go to the next week after you tested yourself and did your mini qualifier that's really balanced across broad times, mold domains, heavy lifting, light loads, some jumping, cardiovascular endurance. Looks pretty good. You're going to go into some rowing and plank holds. So I like that lower intensity. I think this workout could be used over and over again, and you could change the planks, but the rowing could stay the same. You could learn about people's rowing. You could use it to improve their rowing. You could build some progressions on, like they do 200 meters and then a plank hold and then 200 more meters at a little bit faster pace. And then they do a same 30-second plank hold. And then you do the 400, and you should try and sustain the pace that you held for the 200. And then the 400 pace would then become the pacing if like you were off a little bit for the 600 and the 800, and you have a little bit of a decline, but then you could pull some information from there, build out these long endurance progressions using the rower specifically to build paces. And then you could also do this workout in reverse where you go 1,000-meter and people speed up through the workout and just completely take out the planks and maybe put in some rest there or some other things of that nature that are more isometric. They could help, like wall sits. You could do straight arm planks, handstand holds, if you really wanted to do that. I'd recommend just taking out the planks altogether. Like do this workout with the planks, and then, week to week to week for like 6 weeks, use the 2, 4, 6, 8, 1, or 10, which they have, and play with that. And then also accumulate the total volume. So look at it and go, okay, so there's 2,200 plus the other 1,000, so 3,400 meters. I don't know if I added that up correctly, but either way, you look at, let's say 3,000 meters of rowing, you could do a 3,000 meter time trial and then do this as a training session, and then build up more training sessions that build your speed, then ones that accumulate your volume under low intensity. So you could row for 5K or 6K instead of the 3K at a lower pace and build that, and then come back, build some more like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 with wall squats or handstand holds. And then after 4 or 5 weeks of getting exposure, working on their pacing, teaching people how to speed up through their pacing, how to slow down through the pacing, how to sustain across a long period, retest the 3K row. That'd be a good way to do it. But instead, the next week, there is rowing 1,000 meters for Jackie. .com, All right, so Tuesday, you're going to go into 25 hang power cleans, 50 front squats, 25 hang power cleans, 115, 65, just some barbell battery work. But, that's for most people, 165 hang power cleans for men and 115 for ladies is really tough, right? You'd have to build another strength progression to take somebody to be able to do those hang power cleans. This is under the assumption, like I said, they're a higher level, more advanced athlete who maybe has a 1RM of, let's say, 245 hang power clean as a male and 175 to 180 as a female. And they're going to not have too many issues with that loading there for that day. And again, yes, you could bring down and scale the load and everything else. But I guess if this is the ask for this workout, could you build a progression to improve this? Sure. You could do 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. So like a hatch style, and then 10, 10, 8, 8, 8, 8, 6, 6, 6, 6, 4, 4 front squats out of the rack over like many weeks to build up to that 115, 165, or slightly higher than to allow the buffer. You could do things where you go EMOM, front squat, 5 reps for 10 minutes, and then increase those reps over time in a progression. So it could be like 5 reps, and then the following week you go 7 and 9, and then maybe 12 for an EMOM, and you hit that number that you're trying to get to of the 50 front squats. And then you could put this into a training program and test it So you could do the front squats out of the rack in that way, build volume and endurance of that loading, and or build the strength. So you could do 2 sessions, like A week, B week, where you're doing heavy front squats to get your front squats stronger. And then B week, you could do front squat endurance at this loading that you're preparing them to do the workout later on down the road. And then same thing with the hang power cleans, or just improve someone's hang power clean. And every week, let's say you start at 70% hang power cleans and you do that for some sets, followed by max unbroken hang power cleans at let's say 40% of your top set for the day, and cap it at 25 reps. So that way you get the volume on the front end of heavy loading, and then you get the barbell endurance or battery work or muscular endurance or strength endurance, like whatever it is, creating the adaptation on the person in that class or in that training program. And then like weeks down the road, you would take this workout and test it for time and see if you made someone resilient enough and strong enough to move through the hang power cleanse. And again, you could test this workout in week 1 and then build the progression and then test the workout 8 weeks later, 6 to 8 weeks later, and you would have a better outcome. You know, you might get a 0. People might get 0s on this because of the loading, but you know, you could easily make this a percentage too off your 1RM. And then the Wednesday, easy enough, shuttle runs, great conditioning, great cardio. You should probably have shuttle runs as a staple in your program design anyways. And then burpee, bar muscle up. So it's making the assumption that you could do bar muscle ups already, similar to our ring muscle ups last week. Again, it's creating the avatar of somebody who has all of the skills, has all of the general strength metrics. I would almost say like this is definitely like a quarterfinal to semifinal athlete ability level in these workouts, and no room to improve someone's fitness to achieve these things. Let's see. .com will be wilding out, but at least you have a sweet Iowa tee on. Oh, yeah. .com would be upset with what I'm doing right now, I think. But I think there's time for change, you know, and understanding, especially as we see these things about professionalizing the coach, professionalizing the trainer. We have the CrossFit Medical Society thing that's going, and now Greg's coming back with MetFix, and he wants to empower the coach, empower the trainer, help people understand program design better, nutrition better. And you know, .com first went up in 2001, excuse me. And it had something really great, and we do have something really great. But these workouts themselves, when I look at .com, I don't see any line or path of progression. And if we're talking about trying to get people metabolically fit, off the carbs, off the couch, into CrossFit affiliates, so someone like myself or any of our staff can help people improve their well-being, I don't think that this is the program design to do that. It needs more thought. We need to think about these things a little bit deeper. And that's kind of why I'm deconstructing it, because I want just a thought experiment. I don't think that the suggestions I've made are the only way. There's tons of things that you could do to make these things better. It's just my point of view on how to break these down and try to develop somebody so that they could achieve these workouts and use, you know, some of the, like you could take .com one of these weeks here and as a coach and say, okay, we're going to train up for this week of .com. This is going to be our test week. And I'm going to take that and move it 6 weeks out and walk backwards by breaking down all the characteristics and the things that people need over here. So we're going to run row, echo bike, bar muscle up, handstand push-up, power clean, front squat. That gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movement selections to build from. We know that the sticking points are going to be the bar muscle up, the handstand push-up, and the hang power cleans at 165, 115. And then we can look at the repetition count that is needed. And knowing that this rowing workout on Monday, that's just a good conditioning day. And like I said, we could change that up a ton of times. We could build a whole strength progression off of Tuesday to then retest that. We could do skills and drills and body weight gymnastics work instead of doing metabolic conditioning workouts that would help with the bar muscle ups. And then also integrate shuttle runs over the weeks and have some type of shuttle running each week to get and build your capacity within shuttle runs, whether that's through the exposure of it, the actual conditioning of it, the squeeze and time constraints of it, and pushing people by doing sustained shuttle runs, having them do sprint shuttle runs, having them do work to rest ratio shuttle runs, which you see classically in CrossFit all the time. All that I'm doing is adding some thought behind and, just more intention around what we're trying to do. Then you have Diane, 2159 classic CrossFit workout. There's lots of progressions that you could build on this. You start with the deadlift. If someone can't deadlift it, you got to build that up. You got to build the handstand push-up ability to do 45 reps. So you could take one day as a test day and go 45 handstand push-ups unbroken or not. Well, yeah, you could do unbroken max set. You could do, how long does it take you to do 45 reps? And then like an easy progression the following week would be, okay, 21, rest 1 to 1, 15, rest 1 to 1, 9, and you're done. And you've done the volume. You've broken it up. You've brought down the intensity. You've allowed some opportunity for skill practice. You could do some stuff where you drop set and you go, let's say 7 kipping handstand push-ups into 7 seated Z press. So it's like 7 right into the Z press and then a 2 to 3 minute rest. And you could do that for 4 to 6 sets and build that muscle endurance and the skill of the handstand push-up. And that would be your third or second week after the test week, and so on. And build that until you see the majority or your singular athlete able to do 21, 15, 9 handstand push-ups within 3 sets or less. So 7, 7, 7, or however they want to do it, 11, 10, whatever it is. And then you could test Diane, right? So you would run that training progression of handstand push-ups until you could see people do that. And if you don't want to do handstand push-ups because the neck thing and everything else, I get it. You just pull this out and do something else. And then Saturday, great endurance stuff. I mean, the book ending of this week is cool. I like endurance work. I think I'm not very good at it, but then that's probably why I like it more now, because I'm trying to get good at it. So you could break that down and use that. Let's see, what did Marissa say? Said, I mean, the wilding out on the program design, you'd run out of time to run enough progressions for the average person. True, you would. And that's kind of the point, is to just highlight this from .com, which is a free resource. CrossFit is free to anyone going on .com. But the barrier is like, you got to be able to do these things because the workout, and like I said, already 100 times, I don't want to get in the argument of you can scale it. You can scale it. I don't like that argument, because scaling is not progressing somebody down. You can regress it. And if you say, hey, we're going to scale, let's just take the ring muscle up from the beginning, what I said about pull-ups and dips. You could bring it down, scale it, and make someone get better at pull-ups. You could have them do ring turnovers for repetitions, or in bodybuilding style formats or drop sets, you could have people do the ring swings. But some people get bored of that because they don't see the value. But as a coach, if you show them the value and you help people understand, like, hey, look, this is mechanical tension. There's a lot of shapes in the ring muscle up that you're going to see, and many other movement patterns. Even if you're not going to be hanging from a bar, just generally laying on the ground, the hollow and the arch position that everybody knows, the ability to hold yourself from the rings and generate force from the shoulders and the hips, all that stuff's good. On top of the fact that everybody likes bigger biceps, bigger lats, you're going to get that from pulling, whether that's in the rings or on a bar, or bicep curls, or bent over rows, lots of different things. And then same thing, triceps and chest, bench press, ring dips, the ring muscle up. You're going to build and get great aesthetics and hypertrophy from that. And also it's going to build your fitness. The reason why we do ring muscle ups, though, is because it is the highest expression of capacity for what I just explained: your biceps, your triceps, your chest, your lats, and then your ability to move your body through space and move it long distances quickly. And so that's the value of the ring muscle up that does then impact your health over the course of your lifetime. So it is a pinnacle, and I'm glad that they have them in the training program. I just want people to understand that we can build these out. For CJ said, you gave me multiple sets of 2159 handstand push-ups resting 1-to-1. It was good. Yeah, it was good. It's how you build that capacity and that ability to tackle workouts that are classically 2159. And that'll work for a lot of different 2159s. You just got to deconstruct it. And then week 3 going in, no cohesion here across these weeks, realistically, like other than the movements themselves. You got every 3 minutes for 7 sets, which I do like the every 3 minutes. I think that format itself, EMOMs every 3 minutes, on Tuesday with the 1 round, 2 round, 3 round. Love that stuff. You can take that stuff and make a lot of good fitness workouts that push people's fitness and metabolic conditioning forward for various reasons. Like the every 3 minutes gives you enough work to rest ratio that allows you to continue the exercise. The 1, 2, 3 rounds compounds. So you're building muscle endurance through that type of format. Doesn't matter what the movements are. The movements would be selected based on what you're trying to achieve out of the athlete and grow. Whereas these workouts themselves, again, would be a little bit more of a testing body. Backtrack just a little bit, because week 1, I did talk about how it could be a good qualifier week. But week 2, on the other hand, would be a terrible qualifier. You wouldn't really get what you're looking for as far as like an athlete to show up into a classic CrossFit, quote unquote, CrossFit competition. You would actually end up with a completely different athlete though from week 1 to week 2, because there are 2 endurance tests. And then Wednesday is a muscle endurance test. And then you have a classic CrossFit shows requisite of deadlifting and inverted gymnastics pressing. And then you have the hang power cleans front squat at 115, 165, which we covered is a little heavy for most people, right? But if you're entering a qualifying competition, but it's not going to show you any top end, and it's really not going to show you any real true endurance in the sense of like cardiovascular, because in the planks, you're going to get a rest, and in the echo bike run, I mean, that one actually you get a real cardio bunny. I think you would get a smaller, lighter athlete who wasn't very good at gymnastics and wasn't super strong. And if that's the event that you're going for, that's fine. You'd have to do like a lot of carries and running and a lot of other stuff. That fast math was hard though. Yeah, it was hard. So that one's kind of interesting. I mean, you could use it as a qualifier. I would look at that and be like, what are we doing here? But you would also, again, get a very specific person. All right, so back to the final week of week 3, every 3 minutes for 7 sets. Like I said, the 5 squat snatches and 15 bar facing burpees, 185. So we're going to do 35 squat snatches at 185, 125. I think some people generally have a hard time just squat snatching 95, 65. So if we're talking about building progressions, again, this loading is so heavy just to see it on .com that you would have to spend, like Marissa was saying, a really long time developing that strength characteristic. And I appreciate that they've leveled up their program design and these loading parameters from like the 2000s and then the 2010s to 2020. Because yes, people have gotten better. Coaching inside of affiliates have gotten better. Strength training is more prevalent in men and women broadly across the world. So people are a little bit stronger. But I remember in 2013 where like, if you could snatch 185, or 205 as a man, you were like, it was wild. Like you were going to the games if you could do that. And same thing with women, 105 snatches. I think the 2009 at the games at Aromas, I think the max snatch for women was 135 or 145. And there was like 2 women that could do that. So, fast forward 4 years, there's going to be some growth, but not as much as people think, because you're doing all this other stuff. So that's a hefty barbell. I think someone would have to do a full Olympic lifting program. Let's just even say they could snatch 135.95 as their 1RM, which is, I would argue, the average snatch inside of CrossFit affiliates. Like 1RM is about 135 to 155 for men, and women about 95 to 105. So to ask them to do 125, 185, again, you're asking a close to semifinal athlete and games athlete to do this workout. Nothing wrong with that. Just pointing out how, again, it's not a training program. It's just a good workout and a testing body. And then going into 1, 2, 3, there was a workout, very similar format to this, quarterfinals. Yeah, the age group quarterfinals in 2023. So not this year, but last year, with toes to bar lunging, pull-ups, some more lunging, stuff like that. But again, good format, good structure. But they're asking you to do 100 shoulder overhead at 115 and 75 because or push jerks, excuse me, not even shoulder overhead, just push jerks, which is fine, but you couldn't split jerk it if you ran into trouble there. So the first round, you got to do 30. Then the second of the 2 rounds, you got to do 40 reps total. And then the third round, 30. So 60 and 40, 100. It's a lot. It's pretty hefty there as far as the volume. So like I said in the other stuff before, you could build EMOMs where you could build out this volume and start with every minute on the minute, 5 reps unbroken for 10 minutes, and then try to build that to every minute on the minute of 10 reps unbroken for 10 minutes. And then you'd have your 100 volume. And then you'd want a little bit of a buffer, obviously, because you're going to have to do this and with other stuff that is shoulder intensive and compounding. So then ring dips, you got to go 15, and then you got to do 20, so 35, and then you got to do another 15 there. Yeah, so 50 ring dips, quite a bit. And then rope climbs. These are a lot, 3, 4, 7, and then 8, 9, 10 rope climbs. So just a good amount of volume. I mean, there could be alone doing 10 rope climbs. You could work on that all class. That could be a great training session just for people, or a little bit of a piece. And you could break this down in a lot of different ways. There's so much here to train and so many good things that it would be very valuable to just break it down into, like, you're going to do 2 rope climbs, touch and go, rest as needed for 5 sets, and build that stamina and endurance of the rope climbs. And then the next week you do 3 rope climbs, touch and go for 4 sets, and you do 12, and then you do 4, and then you could do 2 sets of 5 rope climbs, touch and go, and keep pushing it in that direction. And then just test 10 for time and see where you're at there, and then integrate it back in. The biggest one is going to be the chest endurance on the 50, but you can run, parallel push-ups, bottom of the dip holds, all these things to build out someone's ring dip and their muscle endurance for the ring dip and make it a little bit better. Just a lot of training would go into that, which is great because that's what we want. We want to progress the training. We want to build people up and take them from minimal capacity to a large capacity across broad times and mole domains. And that's the goal of CrossFit. And some of their reasoning is that because you have all this variance and everything else, and there's transitory movement patterns, you're going to magically build out a 185-pound snatch, 50 ring dips, 100 shoulder overhead, and a bunch of rope climbs. And I know that there are people out there who are going to listen to this and be like, well, I could do that. And I've always been able to do that. I don't have to do any progressions. Yeah, there are outliers out there who just adapt and respond and are very athletic and phenomenal human beings, and good on you. But if you've coached as long as I've coached inside of a CrossFit affiliate, you know that that is not the majority. And we need to be looking at the majority of people as CrossFit coaches, whether you're an elite coach or you're just a CrossFit gym coach inside of an affiliate. Look at the majority. Do not look at the outliers of the one-off person who's been shredded their entire life and can come in and kick butt on all those things. Still continue to coach them and have a good time. But that's there's just one of one. Well, there's more than one, but you get what I'm saying. And then Jackie, good test. You could build a ton of progressions on this and just identify the weakness in there, but pretty simple and straightforward. I actually like that one. I think you could do Jackie and just have a good time with it. And that's true for a fair amount of CrossFit.com workouts in general. Cause even like the Wednesday of last week on here with the shuttle runs, the burpee, bar muscle ups and shuttle runs, like you could do shuttle runs and burpee, toes to bar and shuttle runs and have a great time and get a lot of good fitness and not have to worry about anything. So there is some stuff in here where like you could change the movements, scale the movements, and still get a good workout, have a good time. But you won't really be linearly progressing yourself to do more of these workouts at random or in variation of like what CrossFit really wants you to do. You would still have a lot of deficiencies in some of these areas. And then the Saturday, 3 rounds of 20 sumo deadlift high pulls, 40 GHDs, and 120 double unders. So like I said, 360 double unders. That alone could be a lot of volume for somebody in the majority of classes, or someone that you bring into CrossFit that wants to do harder, higher skill training programs, and then compete. That's a good amount. So you'd have to build out that volume of double unders, and it might even be like 50 reps, rest, 50 reps, rest, and just build that up over time to allow them to be able to do the 120 and then the 360 repetitions there with that. Sumo dev high pull, not really a fan of. You could have changed that movement, but again, so some of the demands here in that week are going to be snatch 185, 125, the 100 push jerks at 115, 75 stood out to me. The 30 ring dips stood out because ring dips are very challenging for a lot of people because of the instability, the lack of chest strength. You know, there's a lot in ring dips. If you've ever done any or you're still working on them, you understand what I'm saying. The rope climbs themselves, I had the wrong number here because I forgot that it was 4 rope climbs in this round and 3 rope climbs in this round. So at first I thought it was 6, but it's not. It's 10. And then the kipping pull-ups could be a challenge in Jackie for a lot of people, and the double unders. So that's just kind of the breakdown and the first glance of the 3 weeks of .com that I randomly chose. And I started writing some progressions. This is where I was like, okay, well, if you use these 3 weeks as test weeks, or you wanted to show a through line in some of this training, some of the examples I did, I've already said out loud, but I was starting to put some down on paper just to play with it and have a good time with like the Monday. So when we go to the top week here, we got every 3 minutes for 7 sets, 5 squat snatches, 15 bar facing burpees. And that same Monday, I would have programmed something, assuming that we're going to go out further and test that workout down the road. This is one of the progressions I would do that help people. You go every 3 minutes for 8 sets. Sets 1 to 4, you do 3 to 5 squat snatches at 65% of your 1RM, followed by 10 to 15 burpees. So you still have the 3-minute window. You get that feeling and that sensation of that. You're going to snatch a little bit lighter load potentially, or it's going to be relative to you. You're going to evaluate that as a coach and the athlete and try to move yourself up to that 185, 125 bar. And then sets 5 through 8, you're going to do 3 to 5 snatches at 70 to 75% of your 1RM, and then 12 to 15 bar facing burpees. So you're building out the snatch, the feeling of the workout. It's percentage based, which then could allow you to control the snatch percent from week to week. And if you really wanted to progress somebody just straight linearly, you take this structure and you would go over and over and over and build up their snatch with the fatigue of the burpees. You could get more creative than that and build some stuff, but that's just one of the ones I was thinking about, of how I could deconstruct that workout to control and build a progression that would allow you to do that workout RX and build out your capacity for the snatch. Because really it doesn't have a whole lot to do with the burpees, and you would get a lot of benefit from just training that progression with the burpees in general. And then on the Tuesday, when we go and we look at the number of ring dips and the rope climbs and everything, you know, I was looking at the push jerks. It's like, okay, every 90 seconds for 10 sets, you're going to do 10 push jerks at the prescribed load to build out that volume. And then you would do 5 sets of 10 ring dips, rest 30 to 60 seconds, 2 to 3 rope climbs. Like I said, you could do those touch and go, rest 30 to 90 seconds. You're going to get the 50 ring dips, and you're going to get 10 to 15 rope climbs. And that would be a good training session that would progress you to those tests or those days in the CrossFit.com. I had some other things here. I was going to go through and break down all of these and change them just to build some stuff out. But I've already talked for 50 minutes. So I feel like that was pretty good. And I might still break those down and do a volume 2 of this. Does anyone who's watching, we have 5 watchers, have questions about this? Comments? Want to say anything? Did you like it? Did you hate this? Anybody get any value from it? There's like a delay probably on the comments. I'm just going to wait. I have no stories to tell you. This is where having more people on the show is beneficial. People can just talk. All right. Nothing to say. I think that was good. I liked it. Personally, I like doing stuff like that. Sometimes just evaluating programs, looking at things to help my brain come up with ideas. So those of you guys who are coaching out there, this process could help you understand, where to go. I think you take a ton of education, and even if you go through exercise science in classic education, or you do a bunch of certifications and you learn from something like OPEX, or you learn from Training Think Tank, or you get a mentor, or you learn from myself, the hardest thing is implementation, and then practice with real live people and seeing what those results are. Because it's really easy to learn theory and principles and read things and listen to things and try it. But the hardest thing, what I don't think people understand, is you really have to work with real human beings and understand the issues they're having in their training and the training that's being prescribed, whether they're following a blog or .com or your training, to then walk it back and break it down into these types of what called quote unquote progressions. And that's all it is a progression to build up either the volume, the intensity, the skill ability to achieve the thing. And this is a very easy way to take program design and go, okay, I'm going to use this week of .com. That's going to be my test. And I'm going to reverse engineer it in a 6-week cycle or a 4-week cycle and build this out for my clients and my athletes to help them be more successful in this thing. And that's just a baseline way to start. There's a lot more involved in that. And we didn't even get into structures of energy systems, how to get someone to move faster, how, or be more aerobic, and those things. That can get even deeper and even more messy as you learn more stuff and work on your craft. But I would like for more coaches to do their own program design for their gym. I would like for more coaches to try and do this and maybe take .com and break it down and build a whole 6-week cycle. And then with the test being the final week of .com that you pulled, and see if what you did made a difference and an impact. Because you can test some of the characteristics of the things, like we talked about the barbell, right? So you could see if, let's say, you have people that snatch 115 and the goal was to get them to 185. Through your progression, you get them to do the number of reps required, which is 35 reps. And they did it at 115, and now they can do it at 140 because you built the progression and you cut the learning curve process, because you weren't just doing random variants, and you really pushed them in a positive direction for their snatch to achieve that workout intentionally with purpose and thoughtfulness that allows them to be successful in their training, which I don't see happening very often. It's kind of why I did this, because I want to help people figure it out. Ricky, thankfully, you know what you're doing. I'll just follow. Well, that's good. Also ask questions and pressure. It's helpful. Yeah. Value is getting a personal coach. It's true. It's true. When you get a one-on-one coach, it gives us the opportunity to look at you specifically. In this capacity, I was talking about generally inside of an affiliate, and that can work, but then you got to realize that you're only working on the characteristics of the thing that the coach has chosen to work on, rather than like, oh man, they're really struggling with chest to bars, and you might not even had chest to bars planned in the program, and you just saw that, and then you start building that out over and over and over, and they get better at it, which then affects numerous other workouts and testing bodies that allow them to express that fitness when asked to do some random CrossFit workout because they dropped in one time and they just smash on people. Jacqueline says, I understand my programming more from these chats and stuff makes more sense. Good. That's also valuable because it helps me communicate better to a larger group of people at one time, all 5 of you. I make that joke a lot, but there are people who watch after the fact, and super grateful for that, for spending your time watching these after they're recorded. You know, at 50 minutes, it's a pretty big investment. And because they're on YouTube, it's harder. I could put them on our podcast on Apple. You just wouldn't see a lot of stuff we pull up, but I think that'd probably be good. Let's just start doing that. All right. If you guys don't have any more questions or any comments, like and subscribe. I'll try to do this more often. Maybe bring in some of the other coaches or convince some of the other coaches to do their own fun thing just to give you guys something fun to watch and think about. Hopefully, this was valuable. Just waiting for more comments to come through. Nothing so far, though. Comment if you want me to break down like one of these weeks into a full 6-week cycle of how you could test for these tests, then progress, and then retest and see if the programming made a change. And then maybe we'll run that as my CrossFit affiliates program design or at least conditioning work for the day. Anybody? Bad idea? Good idea? Nothing. All right. Well, you can always DM me on Instagram, coach.toddwise, because Coach Todd Wise was taken. I also like the space on coach.toddwise. Like there's a space between Coach and Todd Wise. Looks nice. Just my opinion. All right. Well, thanks for watching. See you guys later.